other topic. I'm not gonna always talk about the same topic. I'm gonna switch things up because I'm diverse like that. You don't know what you guys don't know what other topic, man. I have so much knowledge of different topics I could go into, whether it be natural history, whether it be sports, whether it be politics, you name it. There's so many different topics I'm gonna go into. I'm gonna dive into. I haven't reached the pinnacle of where I can be in YouTube. That's why you gotta make sure to support the channel. Donate to the Cash App, $ being resilient. I'm gonna put the name of the Cash App in the description, and I'm gonna include my PayPal and my Zelle account too, so you guys can donate if you guys don't have Cash App. But anyways, I want to talk about these three sprinting legends from Jamaica. If you guys don't know, I'm Jamaican. I was born and raised in Jamaica, and I was born and raised in the island side of Jamaica in a parish known as Clarendon. I was raised there for several years until I moved when I was seven, I believe. But anyways, that's besides the point. I want to address these three sprinters that I believe had so much more they could have achieved. They did reach a legendary status in track and field history, but I realized there's weaknesses. Everyone has a weakness. We know we all humans, as everybody on Earth, have weaknesses they gotta work on. And I realized three separate things distinctively about each athlete that they could have worked on to elevate their game to the next level, and could have ran faster time, could have had their career last for longer, could have had just more opportunity to make a bigger accomplishment in their career. So I want to first address Asafa Powell. I mean, I've actually witnessed Asafa Powell run in person. I've seen him race in indoor meet and outdoor meet. I'm not just someone who's just talking just to watch, just for watching or seeing the person. I was a part of the track team all throughout high school, and I did a little bit in my freshman and sophomore year. But I didn't put all the time and energy into it because I value my studies more. Because if you know anything with sports, right, it doesn't benefit you to go all in if you don't know if you're not sure you're gonna become a pro at it. I mean, in order for you to be the pro, you got to be the big fish out of the pond. You got to run the fastest time in high school, and then in college, you got to be one of the top two athletes in the entire state of. And you got to represent your college. You got to be getting medals and stuff. So if you know you're not gonna be like a pro at the sport, there's no reason for you to pursue it anymore. You can still do it to stay in shape, and you can still actively pursue it, and then you can do it as a thing. But I focus more on my career because even if you was a top athlete, if you end up getting injured, the injury is so severe where you never reach that stardom anymore, there goes your career. And it's like if you don't have nothing to fall back on, then you're gonna have to hustle and find ways to make ends meet. But I love track and field. Track and field is one of my favorite sport besides basketball. I've been a fan of track and field all throughout high school. Like I ran in varsity, I ran cross country, armory. I did all of that. I did indoor, outdoor. I did the long distance and the sprint. I did everything. So when I'm talking about something, I'm not just saying that because I like it. I'm actually speaking from experience. So like I said before, I've seen Asafa Powell ran in a 100-meter dash outdoor in the New York stadium. I forgot the name of the place, but I've seen him ran there. I also seen him ran all in indoor at the New York Stadium, the Madison Square Garden. I've seen him ran there in the indoor track meet. Saw him ran I believe it was a 60-meter dash or something like that. Anyways, I've seen him ran in person, so I'm not speaking from just nothing. But one thing I noticed that Safa Powell struggled with throughout his career him not is him doubting himself during the major events. Like when it came down to like him running in like for the world championship, where all eyes are on you and you can't afford to make mistakes because it's going to be remembered in history. he tends to second guess himself, and he literally will psych himself out of the race to the point where he will not even a lot of times even medal, not even get a bronze medal. And I realized that's one weakness that was the main problem with Asafa Powell, was that he didn't have any confidence. He lacked confidence in himself when it came on to the major events in the track and field arena. When they had to compete for the Olympics or the World Championship, you could see on his face, his body language. It's just like he already psyched himself out of the race. And it's like he already defeated himself before the race even started. And in terms of all the three sprinters I mentioned, Asafa Powell, Yohan Blake, and Usain Bolt. Asafa Powell, to me, is one of the most technically gifted sprinters. I've seen a lot of sprinters race throughout the years. I've never seen a sprinter that is as technically gifted and sound in just execution as Asafa Powell. Like, he had the right technique. Like, he had the body, the athleticism. He had everything it takes for him to be a world champ. And I think he was capable of running much faster time. But when it came on to the events where the lights are on, all eyes are on him, main confidence. He didn't really believe in himself, even though I think he's the most gifted athlete out of all the other two. And these other two are legends by themselves too. But I think Asafa Powell, out of all of them, was the most technically gifted, sound athlete of all time. And dude he had the best start out of any other sprinters I've seen. Just had the right physique, the right body type, and he just had the perfect technique to be a sprinter. I've never seen anybody that just had the perfect form coming out of the blocks. Like when he's starting, just like always lead with his right leg, and just like the way he positioned his feet and the way he moved his body, it was just like a work of art. Like if you ever seen like a slow motion of a Asafa Powell sprinting, it's like literally watching art. It's like watching a movie. It's like I literally am in awe. Like I've never seen a sprinter with this much perfect the technique and his delivery in terms of how he moves and how his body just react. It's just automatic. It's like he didn't. It's like it was something that he was born with. You could tell Asafa Powell was just born with that gift of sprinting. Like he just had that natural talent to be a good sprinter. That gift was already in him. And the only problem he had to deal with was his mental acuity when it came on to how he executed in the big races, because that's the main. They say sprinting, right? When it comes down to running, 80% of it is mental. 80 to 90% of it is mental, and the rest is physical. You could have the physical ability to be the greatest sprinter of all time, but if you don't have the mental acuity to believe that you possess those skills to be the greatest sprinter of all time, you're not going to perform when it really matters. Because if anything, Asafa Powell was the one that really set the bar high, because he ran the world record. He broke the record twice. So he ran 9.77 three times, and he set the bar high. So other sprinters that came up after him, they would have to perform at a certain level, at a very high level, to eclipse that. So when Asafa Powell wasn't facing any major competition, you could see the beauty and the artistry in his sprinting. Like that's when he really ran. But even those events, when on one time he ran, well, it was amazing when he ran 9.77 seconds, three separate times. It was already amazing. But when he ran 9.74, I was in awe, because he actually slowed down the last 20 meters of the race, and he just casually slowed down and just destroyed the competition. He could have ran a much faster time. He could have ran a 9.65 if he really ran all the way through the tape. So that was the issue that really kept Asafa Powell back from reaching his full potential, was because he didn't have the mental acuity, or he wasn't mentally tough when it came on to these major events, he psyched himself out of the race, and and either the intimidation factor was there, where if he was racing against some really good sprinters like Tyson Gay, Usain Bolt, Yohan Blake, when he came across really good competition, he just didn't have the mental toughness to weather the storm. So that was the main problem with Asafa Powell. But everything else, he's really good at. Now, when it comes down to Usain Bolt, we all know Usain Bolt is the greatest sprinter of all time. There's no denying that. He has the fastest time in the 100 meters at 9.58 seconds, and the fastest time in the 200 meters at 19.19 seconds. In fact, he ran the 19.19 seconds into a -3 headwind. So if he had like a tailwind of like at least a 1.5 or 1.7, he would have ran a much faster time. And so in his prime, Usain Bolt was unstoppable. He was unbeatable. He was unbeatable in his prime. He had the greatest stride length out of any other sprinters in the history of the sport. He was just a freak athlete, man. He didn't have the quickest of starts, but when he started getting into his stride and he started getting to his full form, like he was unbeatable. No one, no one could beat Usain Bolt in the last 50 to, like, you may catch him you may have him in the first 60 meters, 50 to 60 meters, but after that he's unbeatable. When he ran his world record in 9.58 seconds, he had the second fastest split 60-meter split of all time. I forgot the exact time it was, but it was only eclipsed by Su Bing. I forgot his name, from China. And the only reason why he got eclipsed by that other sprinter was because Su Bing, I forgot his last name, the one from China, he was shorter and is stockier, so it's easier for shorter sprinters to get faster out of the blocks. But Usain Bolt, Usain Bolt never really had the best of starts, but once he started getting into his strides and get into his rhythm, he was unguardable. I say unguardable. He was unstoppable. Like no one could top his top end speed. No one could eclipse that. Usain Bolt had the greatest top end speed of all sprinters, and he was just in his prime. He was undefeated. Like, he was undefeatable. Like, no one topped him in his prime. He was capable of running much faster time, because the weakness I noticed with Usain Bolt, he was too playful at times. Even that time when he ran 9.69 seconds in Beijing, when he ran that time, he literally thumped in his chest, turned around at the last 40 meters, and he could have ran a much faster time. And when I saw that race, I was like so disappointed, because I'm like, he should have ran throughout the tape, because I wanted to see how fast he could run. And he was also known to be someone who partied a lot. So he never really trained hard throughout the years. He only started training hard when, like, the champ, like, close towards, like, the main event. So he will, like, cut down all the partying, all the joking around, and he would start getting to his workouts and stuff, his routine, and you would take it seriously on you. And but the downside of that is that if you don't train hard throughout the years, you're more prone to get injured leading up to the championships or to the major events, because you didn't give your body time to adapt to those type of changes. So that was the downside of Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt partied too much at times. Yeah, he partied too much. He didn't take his training as seriously as that led to him being injured his down down the line in his career, because he never allowed his body to develop the I forgot the name of it, the calcius, just the muscle strength and the bone structure to be ready to run fast times, because he will usually go out and party and party and party. He partied for a long periods of time, but he never trained throughout the years hard enough to give his body the strength it needs to be adaptable to the changes. So he's less prone to get injured. So that was his downside. He partied too much. He take things way too he didn't take things too seriously, and he didn't really have as much discipline as other sprinters. Even though when it came time for him to train, he did train hard. I'm not denying the fact that he didn't train hard when he needed to, but he didn't do it consistently enough throughout the years, and that was the reason why he got injured often at times, and that's why his career ended so abruptly because of injuries, because he never trained enough throughout the time to get his body um, used to the beating that it takes. When you're running and running and running and you're doing all these drills, your body takes a beating, and you got to give yourself enough. You got to get your body adapt to those changes. So your chances of getting injured it slims. Um, Thankfully, at one point he got into a car accident. I remember the news about how one time he got into a serious injury. But thankfully, he came out alive when he just had minor injuries. But it just shows you that he was kind of reckless at times, and he would go out and he would do things, and it's like he wasn't careful at times. So that's the weakness with Usain Bolt when it comes down to how how much more he could achieve in the sport of track and field. If he had more discipline in the sport of track and field, I really believe he could have run much faster times, and he would have still been running up till now. He wouldn't have been injured as much as he was getting injured in his career. But I still think he could make a comeback. I still believe he could, start taking training more seriously, and he could get back in shape. He's not going to run as fast time as he used to, but I believe anything is possible. He could come close to running those fast times that he used to run. So I think it's still possible for him to make a comeback season, because Johan Blake is definitely showing that it's possible. And we got Shelly and Fraser Price, who is running for the woman, and she is 36 years old. About I think she's about to be 36, and she's running the fastest times of her year of her career. She running faster times than she was when she was in her 20s. But yeah, that's the weakness with Usain Bolt. Now, when it comes on to Johan Blake, so it's literally it's so funny that they're polar opposite of each other. So Asafa Powell was the most technically gifted athlete, but he just never had the confidence in himself to deliver when it really mattered. I think he did train. He trained better than Usain Bolt, but he just never had the mental toughness to really uh, deliver when it really mattered, to really perform when the all eyes were on him. Usain Bolt had confidence, but he didn't have the discipline like Asafa Powell. But now, when it comes down to Johan Blake, Johan Blake was the hardest trainer out of all the three of them. Johan Blake actually trained all throughout the years, but the only is him bulking up right now. He's really bulked up. He needs to like get off some muscle. So that was the only downside with Johan Blake. He trained harder than all the other two sprinters, but he trained way too hard. He didn't take time out to give his body time to rest and develop the strength it needs to be ready for runs. So he didn't give enough. He didn't take enough breaks as much as he should. Like there was like a fine thin line between how much he trained and how much he needs to take time out to rest. So I believe that was a weakness with Johan Blake. But even though you know like it's just funny how they all have their own unique weakness, but they're still very ultra talented sprinters. In my eyes, three of the greatest sprinters of all time. I'll put Usain Bolt at one. I would put Asafa Powell at two, because Asafa Powell ran the most sub 10 seconds of all time. And then if Johan Blake continuing, he's shown a lot of improvement. He's shown that he's having a comeback season. If he can medal in this world championship, what he's capable of, and he runs like another 4 or 5 years and he gather more medals, I could switch him with a Asafa Powell. But right now, Asafa Powell has the second place because of how much sub tens he have ran, and that he actually set the bar for Usain Bolt and Johan Blake to follow after. And Speaking of that, Johan Blake had the second fastest time in both the 100 meters and the 200 meters. He ran a 9.69 seconds into a minus zero point 0.1 headwind, and he also ran 19.26 seconds in the 200 meters. And the crazy thing about that 19.26 seconds when he ran that event was that he had the slowest reaction time out of any other sprinters. And if he would have had just a normal reaction time that he usually do, he would have broke the world record from Usain Bolt when he Usain ran the 19.19 seconds. He would have broke that because he had the slowest reaction time. So those are basically all the weaknesses I realized in all these sprinters. They're still legends. You can't deny that. They're still the top five greatest sprinters of all time. No, you can't deny that. So at the end of the day, they still fulfilled their goals of becoming legends in the sports. But I realized that those are some weaknesses they could have all worked on to even reach a higher level in terms of being a legend. And I just realized that there's so much potential in all of them. They still could have did more. But that's just what I've observed amongst all three spinners. And yeah, that's about it. The World Championship is going to take place. I think it started today. It starts from today till the 24th of July. I'll maybe tuning in. I'll be giving predictions of who I think will win the race for both the women and the men in the 100 and the 200 meters. Stay tuned for those predictions. But I'm going to be bringing up different topics. I'm going to switch things up every now and then. I'm not going to talk about the same thing over and over again. I just want to show that I can be diverse and I could adapt to the change in time, and I'm not just someone who just talks about the same thing over and over again. So stay in touch, stay in tune for more topics like this, not just what dealing with women and how they behave. We already know the dating scene is messed up already, but stay tuned for more topics like this because I have a lot more knowledge than people are aware of in sports and politics and natural history and a lot of different. I could talk about so many different topics you're not even aware of. But those are pretty much what I've noticed amongst three of these sprinters. Um, they're all three very talented. Of course, talent is something that they were born with. But when it came down to how they were disciplining themselves, and just the mental toughness, there were obvious weaknesses that each individual sprinters had to deal with. But let me know what you think about it. If you're into track and field, let me know what you think. But I'm gonna be speaking more about different topics, so be on the lookout for that. Take care and have a great one. Bye for now.